everyone, welcome back to LaceUp with Mickey podcast. Today I'm with Marcel, Operations Director of Tu Cafe. Marcel, how you doing?
How you doing, Mickey? What's going on?
Good. Marcel makes my favorite coffee. As a matter of fact, I have it every single morning before I head into an office. I have a full colada, which is a cup this big of espresso. It's like, how many espresso shots would you say in that?
There's going to be about 5.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a full 4-ounce cup, so you're getting quite a bit of espresso.
Yeah, I get hyped before going into the office.
Yeah, I mean, I don't drink that much coffee, so you must walk in pretty hyped up.
Yeah. Right now I'm working on about 10 shots, so forgive me if the interview's a little bit off. But anyways. All right, Marcel. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. How did Tu Cafe come into existence?
Well, Tu Cafe came into existence 23 years ago when my father and his partner were working at other companies and wanted to develop their own brand of high-quality coffee. So they started this company from the ground up. It was him and his partner. His partner would run the office, and my father would do all the mechanical work in-house, and he was the only technician per se, so he would have a van and he was on the road at whatever time was needed, whether it was at 5 in the afternoon or midnight or 5 in the morning. If a casino would call, he would be out there fixing their machines. If it was the weekend, for example, and we'd be at the beach, we'd go in the company van, because if a client would call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my father would tell me and my mom, "Hey, wait here, I'll be right back," and he'll take off, fix the client's machine, and go back to the beach. So that's how we started 23 years ago. It's been many, many years of hard work and dedication and sacrifice. Where we are today is that we're serving roughly 800 local clients and growing. We've developed a reputation, business to business, for having the highest quality coffee and the fastest service in the industry.
Wow.
All based of hard work and sacrifice and you know, where we are today is my father's a sole owner. Mm-hmm. His partner passed many years ago, and he oversees the entire operation, but I basically manage it day to day in all aspects. And it's one of these high energy places where nothing is the same. Everything's constantly changing. Rather, client needs are changing, employee needs are changing. There's always something going on, and it's always an emergency. There's no such thing as a non-emergency for us. Yeah. Everything is handled at an urgency level of 10 or above.
Yeah, I've been there.
Okay.
Well, I have a question for you. What services exactly do you offer, so that the audience put some context around this?
So we're kind of divided into 2 separate divisions per se. Mm-hmm. We have the business-to-business division. So if you have a restaurant or a hotel or a casino or a hospital or whatnot, mm-hmm. Or a cafeteria, we provide the machinery, the coffee, which is our brand of coffee, and the service. Mm-hmm. So let's say you open up a cafeteria in downtown or Hialeah or in the Keys or in West Palm, wherever, and you want to start serving Cuban coffee. You give us a call, we'll meet with you, and then we'll set up your equipment with a grinder, coffee machine, and you start selling the coffee. We'll have a driver go by once a week, and he's going to ask, "Hey, do you want coffee? Do you not want coffee?" and so forth. So we'll do the delivery aspect ourselves in-house, which some companies outsource. We do it all in-house. And then if you ever have a challenge with your machine, "Hey, my machine's not working right, it's not adjusted correctly, this little button isn't working," we'll send you our own in-house trained technician out to service your machine. We do a lot of service calls. We want to keep the machines running as good as possible, because we really take pride in our coffee, and if our machines aren't maintained correctly, the coffee will not be consistent. So we're always providing service. Even if clients don't call us, we're out visiting. Our technicians, they'll make little pit stops here and there, spot check the machine. If the machine needs a touch, they'll give it a touch. If the machine needs to be overhauled, they'll call us here in the shop and say, "Hey, we need to replace this machine temporarily," so we'll have a guy rush out with another machine, bring theirs in, overhaul it. So that's what we provide to our business customer. Mm-hmm. For our home customer, we're in the process of developing our brand, because we're well established locally, business to business, but we're not known in the home market. So as of maybe a year ago, we launched our brand. We rebranded the company. We launched it online. Mm-hmm. You can find us on our website, tucafegourmet.com, and you can find us on Amazon. And we're slowly taking aiming at penetrating the home market. So you can go on Amazon or our website and buy our coffee, mm-hmm. and have it shipped to you. And if it's local, many times when you're ordering online and it's a local delivery, I'll have one of my guys that's on the road just drop it off. So you'll usually have it within the hour at your doorstep or your office, which is pretty amazing, right? So that's kind of the 2 lines that we have. We have the business-to-business side, and we're trying to work on getting into the home market. But we're doing it, Mickey, non-traditionally. We're not working with supermarkets. We're not working with any marketing company. We're doing it all online, strictly and solely.
Well, let's go back to the service component, right? The service component's what's made your business successful.
Yes.
Same as ours. You have to be available when the customer has problems. Now, you touched upon the fact that you are proactive as well as reactive.
Yes.
Now, I imagine in the beginning when you started the company, it was all reactive. You'd start having issues and it'd be like run and put out the fire. But over time, you developed a set of strategies, right, to keep these machines up and running, because I assume that if the machines are kept up and running, you don't have as many service calls.
Correct.
Right? So how did you come up with that methodology? How did you put that in place to ensure that you wouldn't have as many problems?
It's kind of an interesting question, because if you really go back and look at it, you know, you have to look at the roots, and the root cause of our proactive service, it's actually always been that way since the very beginning, since the inception. Because my dad is one of these types of people that they don't wait around for things to happen.
Okay.
They're actually the consequence that happens to people. That's him. So he doesn't wait for the machines to break. He knows kind of what's going on with each and every customer, and he'll start calling them out. This guy needs to have his machine serviced. This guy needs this guy needs that.
From the top of his head.
Top of his head. 800
Wow.
clients, like that. When he was on his own, when it was just him and his partner, same drill. You know, they started with like 15 customers. He knew exactly what's going on, and back then, machines per se were not electronic. They were hydraulic machines. Some of them even had levers to pull to push a shot out, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of knew what was going on with them. He knows how much usage they get per customer and kind of how much the machines will hold up. So he would proactively go out, make sure. The flip side to that is, because he would be proactive, he wouldn't get calls at 3 in the morning.
Okay.
So there was an added benefit.
Right.
Right. So that culture has come down all the way to today. It hasn't really changed.
So how did he diffuse that knowledge to you, though? Like how do you take the knowledge of 800 companies? Do you use a system? Do you have notes? Like, how do you know what each customer needs when they need it?
How does that diffuse that to me? It's a very, very interesting question, Mickey, because I've worked all my life in corporate sales, and in corporate sales, you have to think on your feet. You have to be very aggressive, very assertive, and know what's happening. You have to have a pulse on everything. And that's kind of the way it was at my house. You know, my house was not a very laid-back household per se. Everything was, you know, high energy and execute. There was always instant execution, and as such, when I started working for my father, and now we're going on 7 or 8 years. It's kind of the way that, you know, I was raised. You know, be on top of everything at all times. You can't wait and sit around. You can't let somebody figure it out. You got to be with your web tangled into everything. And you know, it was second nature for me to come in. It really was. You know, I brought a few different things to the table. Some selling skills, some structural, organizational mindsets that weren't available before. But as it relates to kind of, you know, being all over the place, yeah, that's kind of the way I grew up.
And that leads me to a really interesting question, right? If you're on top of everything, if your webs are entangled in everything, how do you prioritize? How do you look at your list of to-dos, right? You know you got to service 50 customers today. You know you've got to take care of these 10 sales tasks. What goes in at the top and at the bottom of that list every single day? How do you do that?
How do I prioritize? You know, it's just it's interesting you ask, because we're gonna have a set of, you know, it's kind of instant. You know, fires are put out very quickly here. Yeah. There's no whole lot of waiting. So there's it just depends what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a machine, okay. So our number one priority when it comes to operations and servicing clients, our number one priority is a down machine.
Okay.
If a customer calls you and tells you that the machine is down, it's like somebody calling 911 that their heart stopped beating. Okay, or somebody else.
Yeah.
That for us is the biggest emergency we can have, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if one of our customers can't sell coffee, they're not making money, and neither are we. So that's our number one priority: keep everybody operating. Mm-hmm. Second priority would be a customer who's having problems. Any kind of problem. It could be a big problem, it could be a little problem. It doesn't matter. We're still going to address it with the same level of urgency, because we have a fair amount of guys on the road. And I'm going to backpedal here and kind of give you a general idea of how the coffee business works. Coffee business is a very low profit margin business. We make very little money on the coffee. As such, most of our competitors have very few technicians. Mm-hmm. 1, 2 guys, maybe 3.
Right.
Because it costs a lot to provide service. It costs a ridiculous amount of money. That's not who we are. We'd rather spend a lot of money providing service and make sure our clients never bounce around like everybody else's.
Yeah, they leave you and go to someone else.
We have zero attrition.
None.
Zero attrition.
That's insane.
We have controllable losses, people who close. Yes, okay, but we can't control that. Controllable losses, If we have 1 to a year, it's too much.
Yeah, it's the guy's trying to save 3 pennies or something.
Who knows? But but we're the coffee company that people come to when they're looking for quality, not for a bargain. If they want value, they go to anybody else. Okay. So back to the question at hand. We have a lot of guys on the road. Okay, we want it that way. We want to have 7 or 8 guys constantly taking care of fires. So if your machine's not working properly, or whatever it may be, we're putting out those fires practically instantly. So when it comes to prioritizing, that's what we look at. How bad does our client need us, and how soon can we get there?
Yeah, and what's crazy about it is that your principles are instilled in ours as well. As a matter of fact, to this day, right? Even as my uncle, he started this company in 2003. He's built it into what it is today. If a customer that pays $100 calls in, and he has an opportunity to go sell a $100,000 deal, or fix the customer for $100, he's always going to fix the customer for $100.
Right.
Sometimes I'm the younger generation. I'm like, Uncle, what are you doing? Go help the other guy, right? Let's make the big money. He's like, no. The reason why we have this business is because we have customers that pay us to maintain a service, and we've had these customers for many years. Our attrition is very low as well.
Right.
I think this year we've maybe lost 2 to 3 deals out of 700,
right.
And that's just due to organic things that happen on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But these other competitors, they just give horrible service. They don't answer the phone when you call them. They don't put out the fire when you need them to. And as a result, we grow while they shrink.
Right.
And over the years, our business expands, right? Which is the objective of every business. But that's a good segue into the next question. Once you've mastered the service part, once you've mastered putting out the fires, now you're branching out into consumer business, right? How did that idea come about? Like, how did you think, hey, look, I'm going to branch out? Is that just because, is that what's natural? Is that an idea you had? How did that come about?
That came about because, how do I explain this? Okay, so I'm an ambitious guy.
Sure.
I'm gonna go for the horns. I'm not gonna sit here and wait for things to happen. So I was here for about a year and a half, and I'm realizing that everybody who tries our coffee, right? So I'm visiting customers here and there, trying to see how I can help them sell more coffee.
Sure.
Let's be consistent. Let's retrain the people. Let's hang out for a bit. Here's how we really do the coffee, blah, 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 blah. As we're doing this, and there's a lot of windows in Miami, Ventanita City,
yeah.
Right? You see clients, you meet clients, they see your shirt, they start talking to you, and they're constantly complimenting the coffee. This is a really good coffee. I've never had such good coffee. And when you start hearing that day after day after day after day, you realize, you have something special. You have something that's ultra high quality. Why are we going to limit ourselves? Why are we only going to service businesses?
Right.
When those businesses' clients are praising us and giving us accolades left and right, I said to myself, Dad, we really have the best coffee in Miami. We have to branch out. We have to expand. We have to get to people's homes. And then we started, thinking about it and talking about it. So, at the end of the day, we said, okay, let's redesign the coffee. Let's redesign the packaging, because it was aluminum foil. We had,
I remember.
coffee, okay?
Yeah.
It was not the most attractive product to see.
Yeah.
Especially if you're from Miami and you see a brick on the floor, you wonder if it was even coffee. So we did the redesign, and I gotta tell you, it was very slow at the beginning, but it's slowly picking up. So that's what inspired me. I wanted to be more than just a really good Cuban coffee company who provides good service. I want to be the gourmet Cuban coffee company, what Cuban coffee should be, and I want you to have access to it.
Yeah. Not
just go to one of my clients.
And you know what's crazy? I mean, I have the option. I've got like 3 or 4 places around the office. They sell Bustelo, they sell Caracolillo, and I always buy yours. And it's not because you're my customer, it's because it tastes the best.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, I go there one day to the gas station next to us, and I see that they have your thing, and I'm like, oh my God, he's my customer. Let me try the coffee. I've never bought the Bustelo next door ever again.
Right.
So as a vendor of yours, I'm also a customer, which is what's crazy about this thing. But I want to backtrack a little bit. Right now we're at this point, we're distributing to customers directly. One thing we haven't touched upon is, what problems did you encounter along the way? Like if you could pinpoint, here's my biggest problem that I had, and here's how I solved it for our listeners, so that they could learn from it and implement this in their business. What would you give them?
Okay, as it relates, can you be a little bit more specific as
Sure.
it relates to what part?
As it relates to, okay, so you're starting, your dad, for example, is starting to make a profit. Things are going well. Boom, problem happens. Everything kind of comes to a standstill. You got to fix that before you keep going. Was there any moment like that?
There have been moments like that, and really the biggest challenges we're actually we're seeing now. This is something that
Really?
we're really seeing now because we're going through a growth spurt.
Okay.
You see how quiet this is? See how empty this is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're a total of 13 people.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have enough vehicles or enough people. I recently, I think this year I bought 3 vans, okay, and hired 3 more people because I don't have enough physical people to service all my clients as quickly as we would like to. So which means people maybe have to wait sometimes 2-3 hours, which for us is not ideal. It is typical in the coffee world as a consumer to wait up to 3 days for service.
Oh, wow.
Up to, okay? Because that's not in line with our culture. We don't like people to wait. So when we're seeing 2 and 3 hour waits, we're like, we're gonna have to hire more. We need another vehicle. We're gonna have to hire more. That's our biggest challenge, believe it or not. As we were growing about a year ago, at that point, you know, I'm looking at a lot of different things. And when you say challenges, it's funny you say that because Susie, which is on maternity leave, she runs our office.
Mm-hmm.
She is hands down the best person that I've ever seen work in an office. She's got everything under control. It's amazing. However, I was seeing that, you know, traditionally, everything was done by hand here. Everything. Coffee purchased, coffee sold, sales invoices, sales tickets, everything was done by hand. Closing out the day, they were adding pounds by hand. So we slowly started modernizing and we slowly got into QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. And then what I was seeing about a year ago, Mickey, was that Susie was closing out all the drivers, and then she would spend 2 to 3 hours a day manually entering all the sales into QuickBooks. And I says, she has 6,000 other things to do, and I know this is important, but with all technology we have available to us today, it makes no sense to have her, and I don't care what it costs me, it makes no sense to have her 3 hours of her day entering sales. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ran into you, because it really makes life. And I gotta tell you, I value Susie even more now that she's gone, because I have to work with your program, and I gotta tell you, the amount of sales that we get here on a daily basis, I mean, you gotta think about 800 clients, okay, and every day you're visiting about 100 of them and dropping off 1 or 2, 3 cases of coffee, and some people are different products, you know, decaf and espresso, and I have ground coffee and I want pods or whatnot. Entering that into the system manually is insane. So your system allows me to sit with a driver 10 minutes, count their money, count their checks, and go by. It's really, and give them their load. Here's what you gotta load. It just makes life so much easier. So we took a 2 and 3 hour process and shrunk it down to about half an hour. That makes life uber easy for Susie, or for me, now that I'm doing it, but really for her, to be on top of other things that are valuable, like who owes money, okay? Or who do we have to service next? Or she has time to call clients. How was your service today? Was your service up to par? So it really opens us up to do a lot of things. Or if she gets an online order, she can just prep it, and it just makes perfect business sense.
Yeah, and I think that accentuates the importance of me coming here. Completely. Because I'm sitting in the laboratory all day. I hear the problems. So our office is centered around putting out fires. And we just hear the bad things with the program, the bugs, and things like that. But there's so many people out there that are having good experiences, and sometimes I take that for granted. You know, as a part business owner, as part of the owner of this company, I just think about the bad. You don't have any gratitude for the good things that are going on. Right. So the question for you is, like, do you ever step back to smell the roses and go talk to your customers and realize, oh my God, I am doing a good job, or do you constantly beat yourself up?
Well, it's okay. So it's, you know, I'm constantly going and visiting clients. That is a constant. I'm always looking for room for improvement. That's just my nature. You know, what can we do better? What can we make more efficient? What can we have? You know, and I look at that from many perspectives. I look at that from the perspective of our customers. How can we make life easier for our customers? By the same token, I'm trying to look for ways of making our employees' life easier. Okay, and I'll give you an example. You know, the whole LaceUp transition was amazing because our guys, human nature, everybody's like, oh, now I have to deal with a computer. Yeah. After a week, they couldn't live without it, because they realized I don't have to think anymore. Everything's at my fingertips, and it's easier. So that's one of the ways that we improve their life, as well as Susie's. Other little things that I've done, which I think they're so small, they're almost insignificant, but then when you start working in the shop, you realize how much it means. So I got these little water pumps. Yeah. So we have these little push carts. We put the coffee machines on them. You connect the water to the coffee machine. You start making coffee. The coffee drains into a bucket. When that bucket fills up, a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket, if you will, you have to carry that, walk it to the sink. And I says, you know, Dad, you know, nobody here's 20 years old. Right. Okay, we can't have guys carrying around these 30-pound buckets just to get. So I started buying these little pool pumps. They cost like $30, and I put them into the buckets. with a little hose going out to the drain. So whenever their bucket's full, they plug it into the wall, and that bucket drains in about 30 seconds. Okay, little things like that to make their life easier. It's inexpensive, and they are very grateful for it, because who wants to be carrying a bucket for cakes? I don't. Do you?
No, no.
No.
I don't want to be doing any of that.
And so we'll do little things like that. I started innovating with pallets. So we got pallets in here, so the machines, you know, back in the old day, machines were shelved, and then when we had a machine that was head high and a shelf head high, you have to get 3 or 4 guys to physically carry that machine. It's a lot of hard work. I said, Dad, maybe we need to get like a little forklift, and maybe we can make pallets. And we did. We got little pallets done. And you know, that's not the forklift we had initially, but we had a little push forklift. It was manual. Yeah. And suddenly nobody had to carry machines anymore from a shelf that's over your head. We used that same little machine. So back in the old day, you know, when we would transport pallets back and forth, we would have to load a van full of coffee boxes manually, and then drive it here because we have a secondary warehouse where we pick up coffee from, and then unload it one by one. That's 100 boxes of coffee every day, 3 and 4 trips. Now we're able to load with a pallet, a forklift, load a pallet of coffee into a van, and in 5 minutes unload it, and on we go to the next. So those little things that are relatively inexpensive make everybody's life a little easier. So when you say challenges, those are some of the very small things that I've done to make life easier. One of the biggest things that I've done since I got here is I've added 2 very particular pieces of technology that made everybody's life easier. Credit card machine. Yeah, of course. We never had a credit card machine. Now we have a truckload of customers. Yeah, just bill me, you know, just charge my credit card whenever you leave me coffee. Oh, okay. Yeah. And we have a payroll company. We used to hand out handwritten checks every Friday, and it says, Dad, that ship has sailed. We can't. People don't want it. Employees, you want direct deposit, you want payroll, 100%, you know, participation. So those are some of the things that we've done that have helped us become more efficient in the process.
So do you have any mentors, anyone you listen to that you get inspiration from that kind of drives you to be able to come into work every single day, work those 10 to 14-hour days every day and go through the hard work? Is there anyone that you look up to?
There's a few people. I'm very much into motivation and self-help. I read a lot of Bruce Lee quotes, really learn a lot about being flexible and being open-minded. I do see other people on TV a lot who show you, who tell you pretty much that you have to believe in yourself, you can't believe that you're average, you know, and that kind of pushes me and drives me. I look at my father for a lot of inspiration. My father's a quiet guy who does nothing but work hard, and that's huge because you don't see guys like that nowadays. You know, people aren't built that way anymore. He's old school. So I look at my dad a lot. He's just one of these guys who is a consummate problem solver. You know, he sees a problem, and what he sees is a challenge, not a problem. And he'll sit there for a couple of minutes, analyze, and doesn't even say a word, goes and fix it, and you're still wondering what you should start doing before he's done. He's just like that. So that, you know, that drives me to come in every day and give it my all. You know, I don't ask for much advice. I will, but I don't ask for much advice because I believe in myself. I believe in my company. I believe in my employees, and I believe in our product. So for me, it's full throttle all the way.
Okay, and I mean, for me personally, my days they're mostly up, but once in a while, obviously, you have a bad day, right? I do at least, right? I come into the office, maybe I'm tired, or I'm like, oh, okay, what do I do? I don't know which direction to go into, and I'm not really that motivated. I still find a way to execute, but I don't execute to a high extent. Like, what have you found? What gets you through those moments when you're tired? Like, do you have a strategy? Do you just get up, run around the warehouse? Like,
just
what
passion,
do you do?
Just passion, just straight up passion. I'm a happy individual. Yeah. It doesn't matter what comes my way. It doesn't matter what, you know, we all have bad days. When I'm having a bad day, I just move on to the next problem. You know, forget about the one right before, and just keep going. Just keep going. You know, I don't stop there and ponder. I can tell you with sincerity that I don't sit there, Mickey, and ponder about how good or bad my day's going. I'm just going.
You're just going.
I'm just going. I'm just going. I don't stop to think about good or bad. I just next. What can I execute? What can I do?
And the question is, like, were you always that way? Because when I started, I remember I'm sitting in my house in Vegas, and my uncle's here, so I had to learn business, this industry, everything, basically everything about life out of my garage for an entire year, sitting there cold calling customers, getting hung up on. And at first we'd have problems, and I'd blame everyone else.
Right.
No, it's this guy's fault and that guy's fault. It's our development fault, but in reality, it was It was my fault, and I wasn't taking accountability for it.
Right.
So at what point for you did you ever have that thing where you're like, okay, problems are other people's fault, or when did you realize that problems were a part of business and that they're going to happen every day and that you just need to get accustomed to them and deal with them?
You know, I think I learned that very early on. You know, for me, it was right out of high school. I started working at an auto parts, and I expected, you know, that work was going to fix all the problems in the world, and work is like anything else in life. It's not perfect, but you got to do it. It's the only thing in life that they will pay you for is work. So you kind of have to make the best of it. Yeah, there's problems every day and everything. I can't tell you that, you know, but by the same token, I've come to terms with the realities of life, and things just aren't perfect. You know, accountability. You know, I think we all get to a point in life where we grow up and we realize, you know, maybe I was being a little bit ignorant. Maybe I wasn't being wise. Maybe I was being a little foolish, not thinking that I was perfect, right? Yeah. So, yeah, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. God knows I spent half my life apologizing to people because I'll make mistakes like anybody else. Mistakes are a part of life. You're going to learn a whole lot more from them than when you win. But I think it's really important to acknowledge your mistakes. It will get you further as long as you never stop trying. Never give up. Never quit. I'm a huge World War II fan. Yeah. And Winston Churchill, you know, never surrender, never give up. And that's kind of a mindset, you know. We all make mistakes. We all drop the ball. You know, God knows I've dropped the ball here many a times, but you bounce back and you keep going. And I think that's really the key when you're encountering obstacles. It's don't stop. You made a mistake, whoop-de-doo, apologize and move on. Let's go. Because life will not stop, no matter what. Business will not stop, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something super important to instill in our younger listeners, because they run into their first mistake and they get scared. They're like, oh my goodness, I messed up. People are going to think a certain way about me, and they back up, they backtrack, they don't complete something. And that's one of the primary steps along the path where they quit. Right? And they go off course, and then they don't end up pursuing their goals and dreams. Like you said, they don't come in and execute anymore, and they quit. So I was having a conversation with one of my employees the other day, and he's got some goals set out in his head about what he wants to accomplish every day. He wants to be a software developer, right? And I'm like, okay, why don't you go home and actually develop some code? And he goes, because every time I start, I make a mistake, and then I feel bad about it, and I quit. And I go, dude, life isn't perfect. If life were perfect, we'd all be living a happy, dreamful life. Life has its bumps along the road, but it's your propensity, your ability to deal with those bumps that determines how successful you are, right? And how happy you are. So my advice to him was, dude, if you encounter a mistake, figure it out. Right. Try to deal with it. Try to overcome it and keep going. That's where the satisfaction is. It's not in sitting there and quitting and then feeling bad with yourself because you gave up. So I completely agree with you 100%. A mistake cannot deter you from accomplishing a goal. It's impossible.
You know, it's funny you say that, yeah. Mickey, because when I used to work in sales, you know, in sales, and you've done telemarketing, and I've worked in telemarketing, and I've worked in all types of sales, or a bunch of different kinds. And one of the most important lessons that I learned was, you know, and you get a lot of no's. You get a lot of no's in sales, and then you get that one yes, okay? One of the things I learned is that when you're trying to do something as it relates to your daily task or sales, and you make a mistake, or you take a hit, take a loss, you mourn it for 5 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
And then you move on.
Really?
You continue, okay? And that really helped me not drown into the sorrow of making a mistake or losing a sale or having a problem.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's very easy to whirlpool and stay stuck down there for a day or two or a week or whatever it may be. So, you know, I was trained and I was told, and, you know, and I listened closely to these guys who knew a lot more than I did when I was younger. You have a loss, mourn it for 5 minutes and move on. And effectively, it has really worked. It has paid dividends for me in life, you know. Yeah, that's what I can hopefully help you with this guide. Yeah, we all make mistakes. We all feel bad about them, but we just got to keep going.
Mourn them for 5 minutes and move on. That's
move on.
awesome.
The 5 minute mourn, you know, I get it. Cry, you know, complain, do whatever you want to do, but after 5 minutes, let's go.
That's a good rule. And that's a good segue into our final question, right? Our final question is, and I ask all my interviewees this question: what advice, if you could give someone a piece of advice, somebody in the same position as you 20 years ago, somebody just getting started, somebody that's hungry, what advice would you give them so that the probability of success for their business would increase drastically?
Don't think about things too much, just get them done. Okay? That's the best advice I can give them. I'm trying to recall a Bruce Lee quote, but I think it was something to the effect of, you know, don't think, act. Okay? If you know what you want to do, don't sit there and plan it out to the T. Of course, you got to have an idea of what you're going or what you want to do, but what you want to do is get it done. Get it done, because you're going to learn a whole lot more from trying to do something and failing and having mistakes, you're going to get a lot further than if you just sit there and plan it out and it's all beautiful, because when the time comes to execute, you won't even know where to begin. Life will be overcomplicated. So if you want to start your own venture, if you want to live success in your own terms, don't wait. Don't overly plan. Just get it done. Move. Hustle. You have to hustle in life. You have to hustle in business. You really want to out-hustle your competition. See what they're doing and do it 6 notches above theirs. Okay?
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's downright difficult and hard and challenging, but if something is handed to you on a silver platter, are you going to value it?
No.
No.
No way.
You know?
And when I say it's not easy, I don't mean it like even though it's not easy, for me not doing it is hard, right?
Right.
Like the alternative of not being in the business and dealing with the shit every single day, that's what's hard for me. This is easy.
Right.
Coming here and doing this interview with you is easy.
Right.
Sitting at home, chilling, watching TV, that's hard. And what's crazy is what people don't realize, and what you guys need to realize is when you're getting started at something, the more you do it, the more engrossed you become in it. The bigger your goals get. That's why the most important thing you can do in business is just get started. And then don't give up at that first sign of adversity that pops up. Right? And I think that's a good kind of wrapping up.
Adversity is a part of life. It's going to come your way. Adversity and change are two things that are constants in life. Mm-hmm. My parents were people that despise change. They despise it. They want nothing to do with change. But in the sales world, you learn that sales is going to come get you whether you like it or not. It's going to come get you. So you have to be ready to deal with change. And the easier you can accept the change, the quicker you will become successful. Because change is a part of life, change is a part of business, change is a part of everything. Everything evolves, everything changes, for better or for worse. You can always make it a positive at some point if you mentally accept that you are going to go through changes you don't want.
Marcel, you dropped a lot of dimes on this interview. Thank you
Right,
so much for
my
taking
pleasure.
the time with
Absolutely.
us.
Thank you for coming by. Appreciate it very much.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. That was the LaceUp with Mickey podcast. We look forward to seeing you guys next time. Take care.